This is how he starts and ends every book, by the way. The wheel of time turns, and ages come and go, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth returns again. In the third age, an age of prophecy, the world and time themselves hang in the balance. What was, what will be, and what is may yet fall under the shadow. I mean, come the fuck on, man. You hear that shit? Dude, hell yeah. That's awesome. Very, it makes you think, right? I love that. It's so good. So, also, I love that there's like little maps and shit. I'm a very map oriented person. So I just remember the map of this world in my mind's eye at all times when people give locations. So I just remember that shit. So, The Eye of the World. This is his first book, and it is very Tolkien coded, very Lord of the Rings coded. So this book centers around Moraine coming to this place called the Two Rivers. Now, the Two Rivers is named for, well, two rivers. I know, that's crazy. Um, Specifically, the village of Emmons Field, where Rand al'Thor, Perrin Aybara, and Matrim Goffin are from. And Egwene and Nynaeve. That's where they're from. So Moraine and Lan Mandragoran, her warder, they show up and they're about to have Beltane, which is like a springtime festival, right? And Moraine shows up and she's this quote, she's like the most beautiful woman that any of the boys have ever seen, right? Aes Sedai have because they are bound by magic, they have this ageless quality to them where their skin is always smooth, but they also look mature. They're very strange. They're almost ethereal. So when these backwoods sheep herders see this magical nymph of a woman, they're like, "Holy fuck, god damn, bro!" Um, Also, small sidebar conversation. Another thing about these books that some people don't like, and I suppose I understand where they're coming from. The main characters, I'm talking literally, Rand, Perrin, Matt, pretty much the core, right? The central core cast. They're all very young. At the beginning, now they don't ever like explicitly state their ages, but it's kind of hint they're like 18. So it almost has like a YA feel to it. Now, I don't agree that. Now, I've heard some people say that it should be classified as YA fantasy, and I think those people are smoking crack, because that's not what this fucking series is. This is not a YA series. But I think Robert Jordan is just that good of a writer where he manages to get into the mind of younger characters, right? I think Robert Jordan was just a daydreamer. Um, where he's able to get into the head and the thought process of a younger character, and it feels natural. It reminds you of how you felt when you were 18 and you saw somebody who was like ethereally beautiful, right? And you were just some, fucking kid, right? And what it's like to be a mischievous young lad playing pranks on the town fucking wisdom, who is like that's Nynaeve. She's the wisdom. She's like the Nynaeve is like like a medicine woman, like a shaman. Shaman is probably not the right word, but they're like a medicine woman, right? And she's the head of like the women's circle. Also, I'm just gonna get this out there as well. Another big aspect that people do not like about this series, that again, I get the criticism, but I think people just take it too seriously, is that there is a big um dynamic of men versus women versus men, right? That kind of cliche where it's like they just think differently. And here's the thing. that's how the real world works. I don't know how to break this to some people, but men and women are just different things. Like, we just think about things differently. It's just how it is. So when there's a character, Nynaeve, for instance, who she starts her story as a very headstrong woman who just thinks most men are fucking oafish barbarians. They think with the hair on their chests. Um, and she's usually proven right? Because, she's helping to kind of village raise these three young lads who are fucking dumb, oafish barbarian, young boys. So she's proven right again and again and again. And then over the course of the series, this is what people conveniently forget, is that she is proven wrong also, time and time again, where she meets these men who are actually genuine thinkers, and these lovely men that she at least once literally falls in love with, realizing that they're different, and realizing that this whole time she was wrong to be so against them. And she was exactly, Suave's right on a point where she's proven wrong all the time, and she's still too stubborn to admit it, even though she kind of knows it, until very late in her arc, which is perfect. I think she is one of the best arcs, in my opinion, in the entire series. Point is, there's a huge men versus women dynamic in this series, not just within like how male and female characters interact, but with literally like how magic works, where if you're a man, you channel a certain type of the magic, and if you're a woman, you channel the other type of magic. Very gendered universe. Now, it, I think, works for its benefit. I think it's fun. I think it's charming. I think too many people get too wrapped up into it, and they start to think, oh, Robert Jordan's a misogynist or something because his women characters are all so bitchy, which also isn't fucking true, but whatever. That's another weird take I've seen. All these weird things that I'm saying are all weird bullshit takes I've seen on the internet somewhere about the series. So where was I? So these young lads, right? They see woman, and now, because we now know the context of New Spring, gendered magic is literally part of a shit ton. I know, right? Literally, nothing he's doing here is like unheard of, right? All this shit is like, I mean, what's that old quote, right? Nothing is actually truly original, right? Where like everything he's done here is very inspired by real world mythology and stuff like that. So it's not like it's fucking he came up. People act like Robert Jordan created the male female dynamic, which is so stupid, right? Like, he's just playing with something that already exists, but in my opinion never goes overboard. So these three young lads, right, they're in the village, and Moiraine, who we now know because of the context we had in the last book, in the prequel, she's looking for the Dragon Reborn, and she has reason to suspect it's one of these three young lads. Now, we don't exactly know what led her to the Two Rivers. I think that was supposed to be in that prequel trilogy that we never got, but she thinks it is one of these three. But she can't know for sure until she takes them to Tar Valon, because the plan, right? The plan is take the Dragon Reborn to Tar Valon, and the Aes Sedai will groom him, and when the time comes for him to fight the Dark One, he'll be ready. He'll know everything he needs to know. Of course, that's not going to fucking happen, or else the series wouldn't be 15 books long. So basically, finds these three young lads, thinks one of them's the Dragon Reborn, and very Gandalf goes to the Shire, just scoops them up and runs off with them. Basically, not necessarily against their wills, but their village is attacked by Trollocs. Now, that's kind of weird. Why would Trollocs attack a random pissant town in the middle of nowhere? Well, because one of them might be important. Makes you think, doesn't it? So basically, most of this book is them kind of running away from home, trying to get somewhere that they've never been before. And it's a lot of culture shock, also. A lot of these three simple country lads who have never seen a city experiencing all this crazy shit, all this splendor, all this new shit that they've never even heard of, really, right? So, and the whole time, Moraine being this teacher to not only them but to the reader, right? And yeah, exactly, Suave, where we learn the world, right? Because this is one thing I love, right? The three characters don't know shit about this world. Well, neither do we. So every time the characters have a question that you would naturally have, well, they ask it, and Moraine tells them in her weird cryptic way. Also going along with them is Nynaeve and Egwene, both of which, Egwene, Egwene wants to be Aes Sedai. She wants to get out of her little pissant town. She wants to see the world. And Nynaeve, because I love her very much, she basically, upon seeing that a bunch of the youth of Emond's Field has disappeared, decides to chase after them to bring them back by their ears for misbehaving, right? So that's the dynamic for most of this book. Them running away, them trying to get somewhere safe, and they all get split up. And all they know is, okay, we have to make it to Tar Valon. That's what Moraine would have wanted us to do. So, fast forwarding. We all meet back up. We meet some new friends. We meet Tom Maryland. We meet Loyal, who's an Ogier, by the way. Look at him. Not how I fucking picture. Also, Ogier are like fucking 9 feet tall. And in the show, they just made him like 6'2". They made him like 6'2" and like furry, which I don't. Why would you fucking do that? It's so stupid. They literally have CGI, bro. Like, CGI is supposed to be good now, but whatever. So I'm not going to give away every plot point, of course, but this is the general synopsis of the book. They make it all the way to Caemlyn, which is like the capital city of the country that they are in, and they realize we are not going to make it to Tar Valon. We are being harried constantly by the forces of darkness, and there's not really a good way out of here. So, basically, what they do is he introduces this fun concept called the Waygates. Now, the Waygates are these, gates built by the ancient Aes Sedai back in the day, before this thing called the War of the Shadow, which obviously sounds very ominous. Basically, quick version, you open the door and it takes you to a weird in-between world where there's these rock paths that lead you on this crazy maze through the darkness to doors spread throughout the world. That's it. That's the quick and dirty version of it. They take the ways and they get all the way up to this place called Shinar, which is on the border of the Blight. And they're always fighting against the forces of the Shadow and the Dark One. And Moraine brings them into what is essentially Mordor and basically confirm Rand is the Dragon Reborn. Now, Moraine is convinced. Rand is not. Rand is very hesitant to believe any of this. Literally any of this. So we get to deal with this really fun struggle of like the reluctant hero. Not reluctant because he doesn't want to be a hero, but reluctant because this all sounds fucking batshit insane to him. But he kind of just has no choice but to look at what's happening around him. Very, very solid first entry into the character arcs of all these characters. I actually think my only beef with any of the characters and anyone's arcs, Now, I'm gonna slap this bad boy up here. We'll slap him up there. This is our first spoiler alert. I'm gonna give you about 10 seconds while I glug a little bit. That is good. That is good. Okay, you guys ready? So, Nynaeve Almira, my love, falls in love with Lan. Now, you might be thinking, well, isn't Lan bonded to Moiraine? Doesn't that make it really awkward? Yeah, it does a lot. It's really crazy. It's really fucking insane. Now, I kind of wish that we would have gotten this a little bit later in the series, right? Being that it's 15 books long. Please explain bonding a warder. Yeah, so basically, I gotta explain weaves. Weaves are how the Aes Sedai use the magic of the world, how they use the one power. Everything is personified through literally the weaving of like strings on a loom kind of shit. So basically she places a special weave over Lan, and basically they feel each other's emotions. They feel each other's emotions, not necessarily read each other's thoughts, but because they've been together for 20 years, they kind of get it. Now, because she is a blue sister, she's more dedicated to her mission than really anything. It is confirmed in canon. Now, yes, there are a lot of fanfics. There are a lot of them. But it is canon that they have never had sex, or even smooched, really. That he really doesn't feel anything for her, other than what a normal warder feels for an Aes Sedai. He's very duty-driven. Now, like I said, that's canon. That's canon. Now, there's a lot of fanfics of these two. Like, a lot. It's crazy. And most of them are pretty poorly written. But, so, when Nynaeve is making a pass at Lan, well, Moiraine can see what's happening. She can feel what's happening, and it's very crazy. My only thing is I love that dynamic. I think it's so fun. For most of the book, Nynaeve is being already immediately, her worldview, especially regarding men, is being questioned. She's starting to realize that there's more to men. Men aren't all just fucking barbarians. So I just wish we would have gotten like another half of a fucking book before she professed her love for him. Now, this is a really minor complaint, like really minor. It is still a really good scene, but I remember my first time when I first read through the series. That was on my first read through, right? I was like, whoa, what the fuck? What do you mean she's professing her love for him? This is crazy. Also, like, one of the most ice cold scenes in the entire series, right? She basically does Lan, I love you. You're literally so great. And he just does the, okay. Not because he doesn't love her or he doesn't like feel anything. It's just, he's like, yeah, well, I'm the king of a dead kingdom. I've got nothing to offer you. I'm not good enough for you. So no. And literally he is like ice cold, breaks her fucking heart right there. It's fucking insane. So I look, some of you don't understand the instant simp over an older man wielding a katana. You know what? I don't understand that, but you know, I'm sure I'm sure that is a phenomenon. But yeah, so basically that's the dynamic, and I love the dynamic. I just, on my second read through, I was a lot more gracious because you actually start to see throughout the first book, right? You see on your second read through, since you know what's going to happen, you start to see the little subtle details, like the small flusters that she gets, the little frustrations that she gets when she's around him, that I think was really well done. Also, I'm going to mention this now. Robert Jordan, and I can confirm this because I'm literally married to a woman and I asked her about this a lot. Robert Jordan gets into the head of women very well. His editor was literally his wife for all of these books. So he gets it. He fucking gets it, bro. He wrote that very well. Yeah, literally his wife. It almost feels like whenever they're in the head of a woman, um, it almost feels like a woman is now writing the book. It's very good. So it doesn't feel corny. It doesn't feel like the stupid damsel in distress or whatever the fuck. So that's kind of what I really liked about the series. But so on second read through, it was a lot better. But I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I really wish we would have got a little bit more of the she's getting more and more frustrated, and then in like the beginning of the second book, maybe that could have happened. That's just me though. I am now going to turn off the spoiler alert. Hey, welcome back everybody who was gone for the spoiler. We didn't talk about literally anything important, don't worry about it. So so they go into the Blight, which is basically Mordor, after stopping off in Shinar, which is one of my favorite places in the world, in the Wheel of Time world. It's basically just it's what I was talking about earlier. They're like, it's all samurai coded. This is where the book kind of takes a hit for me. It almost feels like it wants to do like a fake out. I don't know, where they go into the Blight. He introduces like 10 new fucking concepts in like one chapter. It's fucking crazy. Now I'm not going to get specifically into what they are because it's not terribly important. Not yet, at least. But he pretty rapidly introduces a ton of shit. And it's my first time reading it. It was a lot. Like, a lot. I was trying to take all this in and I was like, holy fuck, what is all this shit? And he's just rapid fire introducing all these characters. So there are these characters called the Forsaken. Now, the Forsaken is a group of individuals who were the Aes Sedai 3,000 years ago. And they are servants of the Dark Lord. They were twisted and turned by him to evil, and they are very powerful. Very, 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 very powerful. And the seals on the Dark One's prison are weakening, and some of them are now being released unto the world to kind of pave the way for the return of the Dark One. So we meet two of them in this book, and they are both killed by Rand. That's the small spoiler. I'm not really worried about that. But the thing is, again, the scene in which this shit happens is like a fever dream. It is really wacky, really crazy. If you aren't familiar with the world, it makes no goddamn sense. And I know that that's the point, right? Is because he doesn't know what the fuck is happening. He's just kind of doing it. But that's it's kind of weird. And even on my second read through, after reading the entire series a first time, on my second read through, I was like, okay, I know what's happening. I know these names. I know what the deal is. But it was still a lot. It was still a lot. And I think that's where a lot of people fell off with it, I think, is they go, oh, well, if all of the books end like this, I don't want to fucking read this shit. And I kind of get that. It was a really weird way to end the book. And it kind of ends on a weird note where we think that he's done it. We think that, Sauron is dead. The Dark One's dead. Like, that. And Rand basically does the, Moraine, I killed the bad guy. I killed the Dark One in this weird realm that I was in. Are you proud of me? And she just goes, And it's like, so is he right or is he wrong? Right? What's the deal? What's the deal here? What's going on? And then the book just fucking ends. So it's kind of one of those things where it almost feels like a totally self-contained narrative where he could have just ended the series right there and it would have been mostly resolved. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. The end of the book is kind of I don't want to say a letdown because it is cool. It's just confusing. And not in like because because like the outcome is obvious, right? Rand kills this guy that we just met. Also, there's this guy called the Green Man who we don't know really anything about until fucking 3 books later. Um, it's very, like I said, it's very strange, and we just don't know what the fuck is happening. So for that reason, I am going to give Eye of the World a great. I think better than New Spring. Better than New Spring, but still it's on the cusp of amazing. It is a solid introduction to the franchise. Again, the immersion of how he introduces concepts of the world is perfect. And he really builds this sense of awe and wonder of what was all this shit happening 3,000 years ago. I really want to know what that is, but he doesn't tell you because you don't need to know yet. And that's what I love. He doesn't, oh yeah, so Moraine, what's this dragon reborn you think I am? And she goes, well, here's what the dragon reborn is. And then Robert Jordan inserts 17 pages of the Koreathon cycle, right? No, that's not how that's not how that works. She says, well, you might be the dragon reborn, and you don't really need to know, because I don't even know for sure. It is excellent. Exactly, Iron. Exactly. It is showing, not telling, to the maximum degree. It is beautiful. It is beautiful the way he writes it. I feel like I know as much as the characters, right? Where I'm like, exactly, Moraine, I would like to know too. But also, yeah, she isn't sure. She doesn't want to burden them with this crazy weight. As we will see, she was right to do.